Welcome to Beaver Tracks, a damn good podcast, where we bring you inside the world of OSU and share a behind-the-scenes look at Beaver Nation. I'm Allie Carter, Regional Admissions Advisor for Southern California.
And I'm Craig Brauner, Assistant Director of Admissions at OSU Cascades. Thanks for joining us. And today we have Kaylene McLaughlin, who is a current senior at OSU's main campus in Corvallis. And we're excited to have her here to reflect on her time at OSU and find out what her plans are for the future. Kaylene, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today, talking about OSU and everything.
Love it. So when we have our senior spotlight episodes, we usually like to start out by having you introduce yourself a little bit. So tell us, where you're from, how you decided on OSU, what your major is, those kinds of fun facts.
Great. Yeah. So hi, everyone. My name's Kaylene. I'm a fourth-year student here. I'm studying psychology as my major, and then I also have a minor in film studies and organizational leadership. So my end goal is kind of human resources. So junior year, I decided to tack on organizational leadership minor, just to kind of get a head start in that. But I've loved everything that I've studied so far. I also love film studies just as like something fun to do. And I've learned so much from those classes more than just films, which has been amazing. I'm an out-of-state student. I'm originally from the Bay Area, California. So that initial transition was definitely a big one, especially because my freshman year was COVID. So being trapped in a house for like 8 or 9 months with my parents right before going to college was probably like the best situation, because at that point of like fall, and Oregon State was like, hey, you can come to campus if you want, but we get it if you don't want to. And I was like, I am coming to campus. Like, I need to get out of this house. So decided to come to campus freshman year. And I think that was like the best decision for me, just because I was able to meet so many people. Definitely those like shared experiences of living in the dorms freshman year were like I still talk to those people every day, and we're like, remember we did that freshman year? Like, that was our freshman year. I decided to come to OSU. I kind of stole it from a friend in high school, not gonna lie. I originally was like Texas bound, like that's where I was going to go, and then did not have the high enough test scores to go there. So I was humbled very immediately, just because I'm a not great test taker, and I knew that wasn't one of my strong points, but I had a 4.0 GPA. So I was like got to give me something there. I did a lot of extracurriculars in high school, so I had that going for me too. And then I took it as like a sign that Texas might be a little too far for college, just for like my family's sake, because I am pretty big involved with my family. Like, that was just like really hard to leave in general. And then one of my friends was a junior, so he was the grade below me, and his school was Oregon State. And I was like, ooh, Oregon would be a nice place to go. Like, we're only in Corvallis here, we're only about 10 hours from where I am in the Bay Area. So I was like, that is enough to where I can like drive back and forth if I want to. I can kind of, my parents can come visit me, but also they don't have to feel like, oh, you can just come home every weekend, because it's a little too far. So I get that nice balance of like independence up here. And then, yeah, I took a tour of Oregon State 2 weeks before COVID happened too. So like one of the like last few tours that went out in 2020, and I immediately fell in love with campus. I already it was our first campus tour of the day. We had like a 4 a.m. flight to get here. I was not feeling I was not feeling a campus tour. I was like, Dad, I don't want to walk around a campus. Like, I'm so tired. I'd rather just like nap in the hotel room or something. And I was like, no, like we got to get through these campus tours. And I was like, okay, fine. Immediately as I walked on campus, I just felt like instantly like regenerated. Like, I felt so good. Like, I was like, okay, Dad, this campus is like really cool. And I'd visited a lot of college campuses, being a part of like college prep teams and stuff, and like visiting a lot of California schools, but none of them clicked the way Oregon State did. And we actually signed up for a College of Health tour, because I thought College of Public Health was a part of, or psychology was a part of public health, and then got immediately humbled when I got here, and they were like, that's a liberal art thing. And I was like, so should I take a liberal art tour? And they were like, nah, just like explore campus to your campus tour. And I was like, okay, cool. So we had like an extra like hour and a half to kill before our actual campus tour, and it was just like me and my dad walking around like exploring campus. And I remember like telling my dad, I'm like, okay dad, picture this, it's like the middle of fall, maybe like October, November. I like walk to the Dutch Bros, I get a peppermint hot chocolate, I'm walking around campus, the leaves are falling. And I was like, that's a pretty nice picture, because I love fall, and like orange is like top 3 favorite colors, so I was already like set there. And my dad was like, that's a pretty good image. And I just like being able to like see myself on campus just from like walking around it. Like the first time was like kind of like the sign that clicked of like, this is like my college. Like, this is where I want to go. And then every other college tour after that, I was like, I don't care. I'm going to Oregon State, guys. So I need to be here.
Oh, that's so great. I think it's so important for prospective students to visit the campus. And just like what you're saying, to see yourself on the campus. And I love that image of the fall day, because I've been up at the Corvallis campus on a fall day, and it is just awesome.
It's the best thing ever. Like, I have so many pictures on my phone just of like fall in Corvallis, because like fall is already like my favorite season, and I feel like the Corvallis campus just encompasses it so perfectly and beautifully. And yeah, it's like one of my like fall is always like my favorite term, because I'm just like, guys, the campus is so cool. Like, look how pretty everything is.
Yeah, I love that. And as someone who also currently lives in California, I get that you don't really get fall here the way you get it in Oregon. So I can imagine that was a really fun thing for you.
I was really excited, like solely for just like wearing sweaters and like actually having sweater weather, rather than it being like, hey guys, I'm gonna wear this cute sweater today. And then you get to school and it's 70 degrees and you're like, well, I don't want to wear a sweater anymore. I'm just gonna wear the t-shirt I wore. So that was a really, like, I was so excited because I had so many sweaters in California for whatever reason. And then I finally got to wear them once I got to college.
Past you was preparing for future you. Little did you know.
Exactly. She knew. She was like, one day we're going to need all these sweaters.
So, you talked a bit about why you chose to apply to OSU when you were in high school. Do you happen to have like a favorite memory from your current years at campus? Maybe like a favorite class or a favorite event?
So many like instantly come to mind, which is like the good part. Like, there's almost too many to choose from. I would say like probably my first ever football game, which wasn't until like sophomore year. Um, that was really fun. Like, being able to like walk through like into Reeser and just see like crowds upon crowds of people that I hadn't seen in like so long, was really cool. Like, I think that was when it clicked. Like, it wasn't just like McNary Hall that was on campus, like the people there. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like there are a lot of people that go here. Um, and it was also really cool because I've always been like a really school spirited person, like dress up for dress up days, like school spirit Fridays. And like, I feel like my high school wasn't really like into that, or like a lot of people in my cohort weren't. But then like coming to college and like seeing everyone decked out in like orange and black and like face paint and like hats and like bandanas and stuff, it was so cool. Like, that's one of the things about Oregon State that like warms my heart, is the amount of people that walk around just like repping Beaver gear and stuff. And it's just like, that's our school, guys. Like, that's so cool. Like, we love this school. um, so that was like a really cool like moment, just like walking through Reeser and seeing all these people who are going to the same school as me and just like ready to watch some football, which was really awesome. Because I don't even like football, but I was like, I'll watch it if it's like on campus and like everyone else is into it. So it was really cool.
I love that. I love that. I've also always really enjoyed like the school spirit that OSU has. It's really fun to be on campus and just to see everyone like on a regular Tuesday just wearing Beaver gear. And so it's really cool that you've been able to be a part of that. So you talked a little bit about your major. So you talked a little bit about psychology. and being interested in human resources. Can you talk a little bit about like how you decided on psychology and kind of how you got to where you are right now with what your academic interests are?
Yeah. So psychology has been planted in my brain since like sophomore year of high school, just because a teacher told me, like, Kaylene, I think you would be really good at psychology. And I was like, great. I'm not thinking about any other majors. My brain has turned off to thinking about anything else. Like, I'm doing psychology. Um, and because I really do, like, I love like learning about people. I love learning about our minds and like why we do the things we do. But kind of from the get-go, I knew I wasn't built for like clinical psychology. So I was like taking, and then once I got to Oregon State, I took my first general psychology class, and I was like, this is really cool. And I remember meeting with my advisor fall term, and she was like, okay, how are we feeling about like your psych class, like all the other like back core classes you're taking? Um, and I was like, good, but I think I'm going to get like really bored of just psychology if that's like all I'm doing for the next 4 years. But I was like, oh, but I'm really interested in film. And she was like, oh, we have like a film minor if you want to add that, just to like take some film classes, learn about film analysis and stuff. And I was like, great, like, let's do it. So that's been really fun to kind of balance with psychology. So it's like, um, not every term is like 4 psych classes. Like it was like film classes and like a couple psych classes and kind of like mixing it up, which was really nice because I knew like, yeah, since I'm not like going into an eventual psychology field, or like psychology heavy field, I know I wanted at least to do something else to kind of like keep me busy and like have some classes that were like, oh my god, like some of my favorite classes on campus have been like a part of my film minor, and that's like the greatest thing ever. Like I also love like every professor. I mean, there's 2 main professors that we have for our like film studies program, and then a couple that are in like the literature college that like kind of branch over and like teach a couple of them. But every professor that I've had for a film class has been like my favorite human on earth. Like I'm like, I love these people. Um, and then about sophomore year was when I started like telling people, I think I want to go into human resources. Like that's kind of like I want to like sit at a desk at a 9 to 5 and like help people, but like in a business sense. Um, and then I finally brought that up to my advisor, like beginning of, it was like end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year time. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about human resources. I was like doing research and found out we have an organizational leadership minor, which a lot of people use to get into human resources. And I was like, how easy is that? Because with the film minor, that was still a part of liberal arts. So I was like, can I minor in something that's not like a liberal arts thing? Because that's the college I'm a part of. And she was like, oh, for sure. Like, we can totally get you set up with that. And I was like, okay, that was a lot easier said than done. like, um, and then I started taking business classes, which has been really helpful because I get all the resources from the liberal arts college as well as all the business college resources, which has been super helpful. So like I've gotten like my resume looked at. I've done a few like mock interviews. I've done like been to a few career fairs, which has been really nice, even though they don't have ones that are like specifically management or like human resources. It's still like a lot of the booths that come are run by the like recruitment team or like their HR people. So I kind of like reverse, like they're like asking me questions. I'm like, I want to know about your job though. Like, tell me about you, which has been really fun to like be a part of and stuff.
That's awesome. I love that you highlighted the resources that were available to you, like your academic advisor and utilizing the career development office and it being so easy. I think that that's something that prospective students may not realize, but when you take advantage of those services on campus, they're just there to help you excel.
Yeah, I think COVID definitely like taught me to like use up those resources because like you don't know if they're not going to be there type of thing. So like, and especially with my job as a tour ambassador, I learned about so many resources that like I like talk about with my friends, and I'm like, did you know we have this? And like everyone's like, no, like what is that? I'm like, it's just you can go do it. Like, um, there's like a lot of really cool resources that I've learned just from being a tour ambassador and like I like take it as like my job to like tell everyone, like if I hear someone being like, ah, man, I wish we had a career development center. I'm like, we have two, guys. Like, let me like show you where they are. Or like I'm always like plugging the Academic Success Center in Waldo because they like saved my like whole junior year. Cause I was like, this is like, because junior year is like the year I was taking like almost 18 credits of like psych and like classes like every term. And I was like, I don't know how to schedule my time well. Like it was like pretty easy with like back core classes and stuff and like general ed, but like when it was like, okay, I'm taking 4 psych classes that all have a midterm and all have a final all within like days of each other. How am I going to get that done? And like the Academic Success Center was like my little like heaven on earth where they were like, come, we will help you. And I was like, thank you so much. Like it was like a huge help. Definitely saved my like whole junior term.
I love that. And I love that you've been telling other people about them too, so that other students can take advantage of all those really good resources. So you mentioned that you are a tour ambassador, which is something that we wanted to talk about with you. So can you tell us a little bit about things you're involved in on campus, like being a tour ambassador and maybe some other things that you do on campus?
Yeah. Tour ambassador is the main thing. But I guess actually this term it's kind of been swapped for like the main things I'm doing. But like right now I'm in a control room for our Orange Media Network, which I'm a producer at for our KBVR-TV branch. And that's the other main thing I do on campus, which is really awesome. I get to produce 4 episodes of live television a term, which is like so insane. This is another resource that I just kind of like stumbled upon. Like I saw that they were doing an open house and then I was like, oh, I've actually never been to like the 4th floor of the Student Experience Center. Like what is up here? And like I liked film and I like sophomore year when I like got to like see the facility, I was like still in my like, I think I could be a director like for film and stuff one day, even though having like no personal experience with it. And then I ended up in an audition room. Actually, the room right next to me was where I auditioned for a hosting position for like one of their shows. And my friend, I was like, I had ran into my friend up here and she was like, oh my gosh, you should so audition. Like, that's so you. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I haven't done like, I did theater like in like elementary school. Like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know how to read off a prompter. I've never really done like TV stuff. She was like, you should just sit down and audition. And I was like, okay, fine. I totally like blew the actual audition, could not read off the prompter. Like it was a mess. But the show was called Geeking Out About It. So they were asking me like, what can you geek out about? Like if we give you a 30-minute window and a camera in front of you, what can you talk about for like hours? And I was like, oh, easily like anything like Marvel related. Like that's my thing. And they were like asking me questions about it and we like talking back and forth. And that's what like got me the position as a new host on the show. So that was like amazing. And then I hosted the show for like, I hosted all of my sophomore year and then became a producer my junior and senior year. So
And I love this story. I'm so curious. This is a very random question, but since you love Marvel, I've heard that there is a very specific order to watch the Marvel Universe movies. Have you attempted that?
a few times. That was actually one of the things I pride myself on is having all of the Marvel movies on Blu-ray. So because before Disney Plus, that was like the only way you could sit down and watch all of them unless you were like catching it on like FX, like the one time a year they do a Marvel marathon. And even then that was when there were only like 10 movies, so it wasn't like a lot of like TV time. But yeah, I used to like at least once or twice a year walk like just spend a week or like what turned it from started as a week to like a 2-week and then like 3-week long thing, where just like after school I would like watch like 1 or 2 movies. But yeah, I've done it a few times. I've seen I haven't been as great with like the newer stuff just because they're on Disney Plus. So like I can just like binge watch them all there. But now it's like if I want to do it at like a comfortable speed, it's like a 5-week process, which I don't exactly have time for. um, but it's definitely like, yeah, I get into it. Like I'll like get a couple friends involved and we'll be like, all right, let's sit and like watch and no one say anything.
Yes, that's awesome. Do you have any advice for incoming first-year students about the college process, or maybe some advice that you learned that you want to impart on them?
Yeah. One thing I always tell like people when they ask this question is just like try everything. Definitely like leave like your emotional door and like your mental door like open. Like if you're walking around campus and you see a flyer for like um maybe like what's one of the things I recently went to was like drag bingo. And like I grabbed a couple friends and we were like, all right, let's go do this. But yeah, like seeing those flyers and being like, oh, I don't have anything to do on like that Thursday night from like 5 to 7. Let's go to this event. And because that's how you're going to meet people. That's how you're going to find like really cool opportunities, like becoming a TV producer. um, Definitely um, like don't be afraid to just like put yourself out there. What I've learned, everyone on campus is so nice. Like a lot of my friends I've just met from like just having the guts to like compliment them in a class. Like one of my bestest friends, she was like wearing a pair of really cool earrings and I recognized the brand because I shop from them too. And I was like, oh, like, okay, this is like so random. This is just like a backcore class. Like, actually, I think it was like a backcore film class. So I was like double dipping a little bit. And I was like, oh, like, is it weird that I know where her earrings are from? Like, I was like so in my head about it. And then I finally, like, right before class ended, I was like, hey, I love your earrings. I actually have like the same pair at home. Are they from like the Kike, like the brand that is like on Instagram? And like, this girl looks at me and her eyes just like light up and she was like, how do you know that brand? And I was like, oh, like I've been shopping there from since like high school. And it was just like this instant connection. And after that, every day after that class, we would just sit and talk for like 2 hours about like either the movies from class or just like life in general. And yeah, like if I'd been too afraid to like talk to her that day, I wouldn't have made like the friend that I have today type of thing. So like definitely like just like do it. Cause like if anything, you're complimenting someone and like they're gonna feel better about themselves, but also you might make like a lifelong friend.
I love that. That's really great advice. So now that you are in your fourth year, we are kind of approaching that big, scary graduation time. So, do you have any plans for after graduation? Are you thinking about types of jobs to look for and things like that? Where are you in that kind of search process?
Yeah. I'm definitely staying in like the Pacific Northwest area. I love it up here. I like my family, of course, wants me to come back to California, but like, I'm like, hey guys, it's either I'm paying $6,000 to live on my own in the city, or I'm going to pay hundreds and hundreds a week on gas. So, not that great of an idea to just go back home, at least financially. But there's a lot of opportunities up here. I've signed up with, or I'm on like our connections website. So that's been helping me a lot with just like talking to like alums of OSU and being like, hey, you're in human resources. I've also been looking at like being like a hotel concierge just to like maybe do it like over the summer because I also love like the hospitality industry and stuff. And what I've learned from a lot of like, or a good handful of like the job shadows and interviews that I've done, like with people in HR, is most of them don't start in HR. They just kind of like end up there after like a few like different jobs. So I have like, it's like I have too many ideas and ambitions of what I want to do. So I'm kind of like using the first few years out of college, just kind of like bounce around and like see what sticks. And then because I can always go back and get like actually certified to do human resources things. So that's kind of like my like end goal. But for the next few years, I'm like, yeah, I'm really looking into hotel stuff. I'd love to intern at like Coin Studios in Portland, or like Fox 12 in Eugene, like try to do TV stuff. I'm not great of like an article writer or anything, which is like usually what they're looking for, because a lot of the stuff I like about TV is like kind of automated now. But definitely would be like, I've definitely got like my doors open and like looking at a lot of different options. I also love like working in admissions and stuff. So I would love to keep either doing that with like more of like the admission process itself. So I've kind of got a lot of avenues that I'm like looking down into, but definitely staying like in the Corvallis / like Oregon, Washington area, because it's just, I love it up here. Like it's so beautiful.
Whatever's meant to happen will happen. That's what I always say. And it sounds like you're really setting yourself up, again, utilizing your support systems, utilizing the alumni connections. So I think you're going to do just fine.
Thank you.
Well, Kaylene, we just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us and the advice, and what a bright, bright future that you have. And we have just a few minutes left before we depart, but before we do, Allie, do you know what time it is?
Craig, what time is it?
I think it's time for Oregon State Trivia. Bum, 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 bum.
So I have a trivia question for you. After I read it, you'll have a few seconds to think about it. You can talk us through your thought process if you want to. There's also zero pressure to get it correct. We're not going to give you a grade on this pop quiz. So no stress there. So the question is, do you know who the ghost is that supposedly haunts Waldo Hall?
Oh my gosh, I've definitely sat in an office shift and like have researched this. I know it's a woman, I think. Because that used to be like the woman's dormitory or like resident hall. Oh, dang, I cannot think of her name right now. I'm gonna guess like Miss Waldo herself.
I like it. Not quite. So it was Ida Kidder. She was Oregon State's first librarian, and she died in 1920. Yep.
I remember I knew it was a building on campus, and I was like, which building is she?
Yep, it's Waldo. There's I was looking on the special archives site through the library, and they have a whole story about some of the things that people have heard while working in that building. So that is the fun fact of the day.
We should call Ghost Adventures. So for the next episode of Geeking Out, a whole episode about Ida.
We should.
Exactly. That would be so fun.
Kaylene, thanks so much. Before we let you go, can we get a big go Beavs on the count of 3?
For sure.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go, Beavs.
Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope you can join us for our next episode of Beaver Tracks. It will be a damn good time.